Welcome to HUD's Housing Choice Voucher Overviews. This video will discuss the voucher program's success rate and time from issuance to HAP rate, or time to success, and how these measurements assist a PHA in its leasing and spending decisions. The success rate is the percent of issued vouchers that successfully result in a housing assistance payment HAP contract. Along with the overall success rate, PHAs must also be mindful of the length of time each approved household may take to secure a home and the HAP contract is issued. This is known as the time to success. The higher the success rate, the easier it is for a PHA to increase the leasing of its HCV program. Conversely, a low success rate results in significantly more work for a PHA to increase leasing. This video reviews both the concepts for PHA consideration as well as how these rates are assessed in the two-year tool for HCV program analysis and decision-making throughout the leasing process. Let's take a closer look at how the success rate relates to the leasing cycle. This graphic displays the typical steps in the process from a PHA drawing names from a wait list to a family leasing a unit. When the PHA projects ahead that additional participants will be needed to either add to the total leased or make up for participants projected to leave the program, the PHA should begin the process of identifying households on the waiting list to begin the voucher issuance and HAP contract issuance process. For example, let's say the Housing Authority anticipates available funding for an additional 14 households. The PHA knows that not all issued vouchers will be leased, and it knows not all families pulled from the waiting list will respond or be eligible to be issued a voucher. The PHA estimates how many will respond and how many of those issued will be leased, the success rate, and pulls 25 waiting list applicants. Upon contacting those households, staff learns that some of the households have moved to another jurisdiction, while others may no longer be eligible for assistance for various reasons. So, of those first 25 households pulled from the wait list, only 20 are eligible and ready to identify an eligible rental unit. Staff will then brief those 20 households and issue a voucher to begin the house search process. Now, continuing with the example, 17 households find units with landlords interested in leasing to them and submit a request for tenancy approval. But 3 of those never pass the PHA inspection, and the families never locate a unit and give up the voucher. The remaining 14 of the original 20 families issued a voucher successfully rent a unit. The success rate would be 14 out of the 20 households issued a voucher, or 70%. Naturally, individual households will identify housing at different times after issuance. For example, perhaps 10 households identify an eligible unit, resulting in the issuance of a HAP contract within the first 30 days. Then, another 3 households identify a home in 60 days. And the final household in our example takes 90 days or more to identify and move into an eligible unit. This variance in the time it takes each eligible household to secure a HAP contract is known as the time to success. The process of projecting utilization and planning issuance levels relies on PHAs regularly reviewing the data to update the actual success rate and time to success. Underestimating success rate can lead to more leasing than desired, and overestimating can lead to underutilizing the program by issuing too few vouchers. When analyzing the data, it is important to look at only those vouchers issued that have either leased or the voucher has been relinquished. In other words, the PHA knows the result of all of the issuances in an issuance cohort. The two-year tool allows for PHA staff to factor in these variables to more accurately project leasing and spending. The PHA can further analyze and track the leasing cycle by accessing 2 supplemental tools available within the two-year tool. Let's take a look. Within the two-year tool, you will notice a blue button at the top of the screen labeled Access Additional Tools. When you select this button, a new window will open showing a table of additional available tools. First, we will review Waiting List Management Tool. This tool will help PHA track the number of households that must be pulled from the current wait list to fill the available vouchers. Once we have selected the Wait List Management tool, a new box will appear with two fillable cells. The top cell prompts the user to enter a figure for the percentage of households pulled from the wait list compared to how many will be issued a voucher. This is not to be confused with the success rate, which measure the percentage of households issued a voucher that secure a unit and are issued a HAP contract. Essentially, this calculation is one level above the success rate. This calculation is referred to as the draw to issuance rate. How many names must be pulled from the wait list to issue the appropriate number of vouchers each month? Depending on how actively the PHA manages their waiting list, this rate could be higher or lower. For the sake of this example, we will assume the wait list is a bit older. Contact information has not been updated recently, and the list has not been purged in quite some time. Therefore, we will assume a rate of 50%, which indicates only 50% of the names pulled from the wait list will be issued vouchers. Others may be non-responsive. They may have moved away or may be no longer eligible for assistance. For now, we will leave the high percentage of movers cell blank. Then click the If you build it, the rate will come button. You will notice a new window is open titled Waiting List Draw Analysis. There are two tables. The one on the left shows the remainder of year 1, and the table on the right shows the projections for year 2. Based on the voucher issuance scenario, this tool will forecast how many names need to be pulled from the wait list each month in order to provide for the projected voucher issuances for the remainder of year 1 and forecast in year 2. This analysis gives the PHA some idea of the number of households that will need to be pulled from the wait list based on the tool's issuance scenario. This will help the PHA to properly manage their waiting list by knowing when to update the wait list, knowing how often households and how many households will be pulled from the wait list, and eventually when to open the wait list for new applicants too. Of course, opening the wait list and applying preferences to new applicants takes time, so PHA should project far enough in advance to avoid running out of households on the wait list and causing an interruption in the leasing cycle. The next supplemental tool we want to review is the Success Rate Tracking tool. Back in the two-year tool, we will again select the Access Additional Tools button. On the right-hand side, we see an option for the Success Rate Tracking Analysis. This will open the Success Rate Tracking tab within the Excel workbook. On this tab, remember yellow shaded cells are fillable by the user while others are locked. Column A shows the month and year, while column B indicates the number of vouchers issued each month. For the sake of this example, we will issue 100 vouchers each month for April, May, and June 2022. As we move our cursor to the right along the same rows for each month, yellow cells appear in the following 5 months. For each of the 100 vouchers issued in the month indicated in column A, we want to indicate how many are successfully leased and in what month. Be sure you are only entering the successful issuances for the cohort in the given month, not any other previous issuances. As we begin to populate the successful issuances for each month, the vouchers leased figure begins to populate in column C for each monthly issuance. Initially, this figure will include the term yet. We need to know the result of all 100 issuances before the figure in column C can be finalized. Any issuances that fail to lease up are indicated in column D. Once the results are known for all 100 issuances in each month, The overall success rate and the time to success update in the summary results section in the bottom left portion of the tab. The PHA can then utilize this information to project the success rate and the time to success projections more accurately in the 2-year tool. Let's take a look at how success rate and time to from issuance to HAP works and how it's displayed in the tool. For ease of demonstration, we'll first start with a 100% success rate. In the time from issuance to HAP effective date, we've set the rate of those leased in the first month at 50%, and 30% for leases that take 30 to 60 days, 20% for those leased between day 60 and 90. If we issue 100 vouchers in a given month and expect to see 100% leased, the lease-up timing will follow the time to success entered in the tool. Scrolling down, let's put those 100 vouchers in the Vouchers Issued or Projected to be Issued column, column F. In column H, we note the total leased is 100, as you can see here. This is 100 issued vouchers times the success rate of 100. When those vouchers lease, as you can see, follows the lease-up timing we have above. The first month, 50%, and thus 50 vouchers are leased, 30% or 30 vouchers for the following month, and so on. Now we'll change the success rate to 80%, and we will leave the TTS the same. If we issue 100 vouchers and the success rate is 80%, this means only 80 of those families will lease up. Of the 80, 50% lease up in the first month, meaning 40 families lease up in the month after issuance. And we can see that 40 here in column H, 24 is 30% of the 80. As you issue vouchers, the number of families that lease follow the rate of the issuance to HAP timing above. So what is the third month for one issuance cohort is the second month for another issuance cohort. Therefore, if we add 100 to other months, we'll see in column H the projected leasing adjusts. However, the layering of the time to success becomes a bit tricky. Fear not, the 2-year tool handles that trickiness for you. In this example, we just wanted to demonstrate a straightforward single issuance month so as to allow a user to see how the math is working without too much going on. In addition to using the success rate and time to success data for projection purposes, it should be used to assess how the program is working and might be improved. What could lead to more families being successful using the voucher? And whether other operational plans are adequate given the success rate and time to success variables. There are several factors PHA staff should consider, including: is there a sufficient number of eligible applicants on the wait list to replace those households lost through attrition? If not, a PHA may need to consider opening and updating its waiting list more often to ensure eligible households are identified in a timely manner. Remember, this process varies from PHA to PHA and may take considerable time and effort, which should be factored into the overall analysis of the leasing cycle. Are the PHA's payment standards sufficient given the rents on the market? If not, the PHA should consider revisiting them. Are the PHA's subsidy standards, the number of bedrooms on the voucher given family size and composition, adequate? If not, the PHA should consider reassessing that policy. Can the PHA's leasing process be improved? Perhaps tenants need additional assistance locating affordable housing units, communicating with landlords, and preparing for their move. These efforts can improve a PHA's overall success rate. Are there available affordable housing units in the area operated by cooperative landlords? A PHA may need to increase its landlord outreach and engagement efforts. The process for completing HQS inspections and issuing HAP contracts may also need to be reviewed to minimize processing time. And the PHA might assess overall customer service to landlords. Both the rate at which the vouchers are successfully leased and the time from issuance to HAP effective date are important data points in leasing and spending planning by PHAs. In conjunction with the attrition rate, this information allows a PHA to set their program on a steady foundation of leasing to compensate for attrition and to avoid the roller coaster effect of considerable leasing followed only by attriting. This concludes the presentation on the success rate and the time to success variable components of HUD's 2-year tool. Please check out the full series of webinars to learn more about the basics of the Housing Choice Voucher Program.